Hey everybody, it's Bust with week 3 of the Tarjeta eSports Draft League Season 2, and we're about to play up against Necros. We're 1-1. We lost our battle last week up against Alexander, and today we'll be doing battle up against Necros, one of the classic lovers of the Expedition format. We should be in for a good one today. And so, to get you caught up with our deck lists, if you aren't remembering, we have our Bard Freylord deck. This is the one I expect to be banned most commonly. This has a lot of really high-powered things in it. We have the 3 copies of Bird, 3 copies of Esma, 3 copies of Bard. We have a pretty decent curve, and then we have this nice Freylordian late game with the collection of Overwhelms, along with some of this high-powered stuff that you see out of Freylord, like the Howling Abyss and Buried in the Ice. We typically look to come out and just ban the Freylord decks because the epics are so powerful, but we'll see if that continues to be the thing today. But I do expect our Bard deck to be the one that people most commonly ban. The next one is our Poppy Rally deck. This is very low to the ground, very go wide style deck. It has a handful of interactive units in the early game, but we're mainly looking to take advantage of Poppy. We have the full 3 copies of Poppy. We have the 1 Relentless Pursuit, 1 Golden Aegis. Everyone is super familiar with these ideas from Constructed, but then we have a handful of other ways to take advantage of a fully wide board, be that something like Cytherea the Bold or the 4 Demacias generated from Vanguard Sergeant. This is the deck that's been making it through every week. Everyone has had us play with the Poppy deck. I'd expect the same thing to be happening today. Last but not least, the worst deck, if you will, of our lineup. We tried to assemble a PNZ Noxus aggro deck. The cards didn't 100% come together. We didn't quite find the burn that we were looking for. We didn't quite get as much early curve as we were looking for, but we do have some pretty powerful late game, and we have the Shiraz of the Blade, Kato the Arm combo. And so this is the deck we got O2'd with in the previous week. I suspect we're going to have to play this one in every matchup, and hopefully, we can just pull out a match with it and then ride on the strength of our other decks. So what we're going to be seeing out of our opponent, he has 3 decks here, and I'm going to be departing slightly from our standard plan. He does have a Freylord deck. He's playing Freylord Demacia. This is our typical ban, right, to just come out here and ban the Freylord deck. My thought and idea with that is these limited games tend to drag on, right? You tend to turn into a bit of a value fest, and if you're having to play the game until turn 8, turn 9, turn 10, these Freylord epics are just a very easy way to say, oops, I win, right? So this deck here, it has a copy of the Howling Abyss. It has a copy of Feel the Rush. Down here at the end, it's got the big booms and things like Bright Steel Formation and Cytherea. These are pretty tough things to beat if you accidentally go into the late game. And so I've been looking to ban these out, but today I'm going to let the Freylord deck stand. I think in terms of this, it does have a little bit more interactivity than I want to deal with, right? That's my major concern. Running up against these decks with our terrible Shiraza deck as we get our big Shiraza combo, and he's like, oh, cool, we have a Detain from our Demacian Tellstones or a Concerted Strike or an Entomb to shut down our big attack. But I'm a little bit more worried today about this Zed Bard list that we're having to run up against. It's a very elusives heavy deck. If you're familiar with drafting Zed in Expedition, you should be very familiar with what's happening here. It's got the 3 copies of Zed. He did go for Bard, but that didn't really turn out. But then as you move down into the units section, you're going to see this really scary collection of units like the 3 Greenglade Duos, the Young Witch, the collections of Esmuths. This is just a nightmare. I don't want to deal with any of this shit. It's just, as uninteractive as it gets and very powerful. And so this is a very strong deck. I don't want to deal with it. So this is going to be our ban. We're going to deal with the Freylord deck as best as we can. The last deck in his lineup is a Noxus and Targon number. This is the one I'm hoping that we're able to beat with our Shiraza deck, and hopefully this would be the place where we could look for a 2-0. There's no real interactivity in this deck. It has the likes of Sigil of Malice and things like Ravenous Flock, but those aren't fantastic ways to shut down our Shiraza combo. It seems like he had something, an idea here with like drafting around Aphelios, and then it just didn't really come together. And so It does still have the makings of a strong deck. It has a good curve. It has some pretty decent late game to it. But this is the one I want to leave up and I want to do battle against with here. And so, again, a little bit different. We're going to ban out this scary Elusive's number. We're going to leave up the Freylord deck, and that's going to get us ready for battle. And so, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump on in. And all right, here we go. And so, oh, got to pick our decks first. I just saw Ari up here, and I was like, yep, that's the one we're going to ban. But no, let's get our 3 draft decks ready. That would have been slightly awkward taking our Ari Go Hard deck right into battle. But as we mentioned, we're going to come out here. We're just going to ban out this Elusives deck. I really don't want to be doing battle against Zed and the Elusive friends. Let's take a quick peek at these deck lists and see if there's anything out of the ordinary. I doubt that we'll see anything too strange. Reasonable curve coming out of the Aphelios Noxus deck. Just one Aphelios, though, not too much to worry about there. Again, no interactivity, and then it has this pretty reasonable Noxus-style late game to where you're looking to close out these games with Overwhelms, and then the big power coming from the Winding Light, although he won't pop up with the deck lists here. And then with the Demacia Freylord thing, how much of this expensive stuff made it? Feel the Rush, Cytheria, Brightsteel Formation are in here. Tiana's in here at 8. At the Stairs, Galio, Howling Abyss, like all the big booms made it in here. Have to worry a little bit about the likes of the Radiant Guardian, but I think we'll be okay there. Curve hurting a little bit. Oh, he's even got the ramp cards in here, but double Broadwing to shore things up. Okay, so not a ton of early game stuff. I feel kind of okay bringing the or letting the Freylord deck stand. We're going to keep our standard strategy here of going to battle with leading off with the Shiraza deck. Okay. So what do we got? The Noxus Targon number coming at us. The best of the worst making their making their way into battle. And so like I'm curious if we ever want to come out here and just actually shoot for a 1-drop. We have a reasonable enough curves with the 2s. It's kind of one of those spots to where you might be able to just redraw another 2 if the early game plays fall that way, but we did pick up a 1 though. That's quite important to get these damages in. It's like we're playing Constructed, right? We got the Blade Squire, we got the Grenadier to follow up with second. Almost looks like we're playing a real deck if you don't look at things like Parade Electro Rig. Ooh, House Spider is a strong ad. I think we'll just attack with the Grenadier. Like, since we have the Caitlyn on the board, we do have some opportunities to interact with this smaller play. And it doesn't feel good to just get blasted for that 2-for-1 right at the beginning when we can start getting some advantages out of Caitlyn, especially if he wants to like cycle around on this follow-up turn and then play a 2 health unit. So if he wants to drop a 3-2 here because he doesn't have a 3-drop, we still get some good value out of the Blade Squire. What up, Great Physician? Oh, the Grenadier comes down. I think that's okay. I'm not super worried about taking this damage. He should have a fairly tough time closing out this game. So we'll just bring in the Caitlyn, not worry so much about all this damage coming in. And then if it's just the single hit from the Grenadier, then that's pretty good and decent. All right, well, I think we're to the point where we're going to have to bring it. We didn't get too much out of this Blade Squire, but that's okay. Now we can look to use the Reforge, use the Poro Cannon to have this kind of cycle of goodness with the Ballistic Bot. So ideally, we'll get a little bit of magic happening there. We hit a good one. +2 attack can be pretty important with this deck. You can load up Shiraza with the +2 attack. We would rather her have Overwhelm, but, you know, you might get something cool with it. But definitely want to get our Ballistic Bot down. We need to get these ignitions up and running. Eager Apprentice is a fine ad here as well.
I'm on it.
Feel better if we dealt a little bit more damage. Oh, we're ready to boom next turn though. It's like he does have that top end package in here with the various dragons that start to worry me as these games drag on. We need to keep his board a little bit light if we can, but we can get Kato into battering ram. We're ready to start slamming in here. Kato plus Caitlyn is a pretty strong attack combo. All right, so we're always gonna be blocking with the small dude. I'm curious about the rest of this attack though. Like, are we quite ready to give up on our Caitlyn? It's just, I don't remember what the entirety of his deck package was. I know he has a Ravenous Flock. I don't think there were like Pale Cascades in there, but is it too risky? I think this is okay. If we get him to start investing in this block here, like if he has the single Ravenous Flock, it's a little bit unfortunate, but if we can get him to spend a little bit more mana on spells and not on units, we still have a pretty good attack next turn with Kato boosting the Ballistic bot. Yeah, it's fine. It does add in a couple of flashbangs to the deck as well, so we have a bit of potential in terms of just killing off this Grave Physician. What we got in there? 4 flash bombs, guaranteed to hit as soon as we need it. we got that premium Caitlyn. She has the skins. The pay to win price was paid on that. I expect the flash bombs to do everything we need right on time, hitting the targets they're supposed to hit. Kato time. Double stun? A little unfortunate. It's okay though. We're gonna hit this flashbang trap and everything's gonna be alright. Oh, oh. Told you. So it would have been a pretty sweet open if we had the opportunity, if we'd been able to, or not an open, but a pretty sweet attack if we could have gotten our Kato in here as well, but I guess you can't have it all the time. This Ballistic Bot should be pretty scary in the upcoming round. We're going to drop the Ignition here if we want to start dropping Poro Cannons and the like on the following turn. Have some pretty good opportunities to boost this attack up pretty high for a Kato attack on the next turn. Should be like pretty far from lethal. Like the thing that we're going to have now is we pretty much have to open attack next turn. We don't want to play a card and then him be like, LOL, it's Eclipse Dragon, right? And so I feel like we need to try and end the game. Ideally, we'll be able to drop a Shock Blast here, and then drop in the Poro Cannon. Shock Blast isn't happening. It's too slow now. I mean, can he really get good hits into the battering ram? That sounds kind of tough to do. It's a 5 hit from the Cloven Way. It's just 8 in total. I'm just kind of thinking here how we're gonna just deal maximum damage next turn, and that involves blocking. I mean, we could still block with the battering ram. It's just, I guess he's gonna be out of Ravenous Flock range, right? I am a little worried about losing Kato though. Takes our dude down to 5. Alright. It would need like a Trick and a Ravenous Flock, or like a Ravenous Flock and an Aphelios. Like, he needs a really odd combo of cards to be able to take down the battering ram in a way that we actually care about. Whoopsied this a little bit. I did mean to play the Poro Cannons, but We can just use this Shock Blast next turn. I was intending on Shock Blasting down a couple of plays, but... Little whoopsies. I'm not. It's not above me. It's a common thing, you know. anyone familiar with my work knows that I'm not immune to the whoopsies. I'm curious if it is just better to drop the Poro Cannon here and then look to send a Shock Blast to face. Like, he's gonna 100% block Arcado the Arm every time. And so it's like not like we're getting out of that or getting away from it. I'm not really willing to discard any of these other cards, though. I think this is good. He's pretty light on mana at this point. And so he can probably add like one dude this turn, and then we know that there isn't a ton of interactivity for the follow-up attack. I think this is okay. Scorched Earth. Gross. I did not remember the existence of that one. That's okay though. We'll bring in a big hit right here. Oh. Shock Blast number 2. I dig it. Look at that. So many stats coming through. We got this this +8 coming out of hand for our elusive units down here. I dig it. I dig it. The best place in the world to be is just all in. Oh my god, stupid cats. This is a fixture of my videos. I've got a dumbass cat hooked up in my headset. She can't figure out how to get off of the cable. Oh my god. Move. Alright. I think I heard the GG noise. Got him. Whew. Sorry about that. I was busy dealing with the cat. But alright. Our Shiraza deck did the deed. We get to battle with our Poppy deck now. Most excellent. Most excellent. What do we see here? He switches over to Freylord. You got it. So let's see. Not a bad start with the Broadwing. I don't really want to hang on to the Gleaming Lantern, but when you have like a little bit of value coming out of your hands like these, it makes the lanterns feel a little bit better. But I think we can get rid of all of these and just look for a little bit more high quality stuff. Like the real raw power out of our deck comes from having Poppy. And so if we can hang on to the Broadwing just because it's so strong and then mulligan down for Poppies, I think that's going to be powerful. Coming at us with the Poros. We've been needing to make a Kaisa deck with the Poros, right? You play the Lonely Poros, those generate all of the other ones. That's that's the big combos of the world these days. Here, I'm willing to trade Ranger's Resolve for the Broadwing for the opportunity to keep our Broadwing on the board. He's going to be relevant later when it comes time to start attacking with Poppy. Like, this doesn't feel like a game or a deck to where we're going to spend our first 6 mana on units, they're going to spend their first 6 mana on units, and then we're just going to get this big, like, 4-unit on 4-unit battle happening, and we go, LOL, it's Ranger's Resolve. Like, I just don't think that's ever going to happen. And so, using it defensively here would have been okay with me. Ziggs was a pretty choice draw. He doesn't get as much love from Poppy as he needs to, but it's an actual mountain of stats out here. Are we ever okay with just attacking with him? I mean, we can hook in the Broadwing with ours. His blocks are actually just terrible against the Ziggs if we do that. How do we feel about this one? I think it's kind of okay. See if we get the chip damage on the Broadwing. I assume most of the time you just take one, but it's like a little suspect with the Ziggs coming in. But that board I was talking about where we just start to get a lot of width and things that I didn't think was going to happen is totally happening now. And so we're going to be able to get the really high quality Yordle Smith and Stone Stackers down. We'll have Poppy down. His interactivity can take down a Poppy, right? He has things like Concerted Strike coming out of his deck, but if we get to actually like attack with Poppy next turn in this full board, the game's going to be done. I'm just going to go for it. We're giving him the opportunity to try and take her down with a Concerted Strike, but we're going to have such a high quality attack next turn in terms of having like the quick attack with the Yordle Smith. I'm willing to risk it.
My arrow won't miss. Do you smell something burning?
So what's the trick here? I don't remember what their cards were. If is this just to come in and take down the Broadwing? Okay.
This will be over quicker than you can fry a ferret.
This will be over quicker than you can fry a ferret. But all right, we are really hinging on this Poppy now. Ideally, we don't run into a Concerted Strike or a Detain next turn. Even if we do, it's not like the end of the world. But he has 4 cards, at least in his initial draft pool, that can take down Poppy right here. He had a Concerted Strike, he had a Detain, he had 2 Demacian Tailstones. And so if he does have to spend his turn trying to take down the Poppy, that's still fine. He's not going to get to play any follow-up cards. We're going to get a pretty big attack here. And then we can at least work on the tempo just a little bit. Okay.
One for you and one for you.
Glad we didn't try to go for that play to where we quicken to where we build up to that big Poppy turn. If he would have just detained our Poppy, that would have been devastating, right? If we attacked that turn with hopefully a Broadwing, Ziggs, and Poppy, and then he just has the detain on Poppy, it's just going to be so huge in terms of taking her down. Can we do all of this? Like, we have 8 mana, right? Okay, so we can Ranger's Resolve. I want to get our Swiftling Lancer down, and then we're gonna quicken away this Egghead Researcher. It sucks to give him that value, right? This is a nice unit to get to replay, but having a big open attack with Poppy next turn and a Heroic Refrain in hand, it's going to be quite strong. All right, so we're never going to be able to... Ooh, maybe we are going to be able to bring lethals this round. So let's see. Our attack should look like this, with Poppy growing the Yordle Smith getting 3 power and then boosting all of our others. That looks pretty strong. We'll hook Dum Dum here down to the end, and we have the mana now to both Heroic Refrain and to Relentless Pursuit. So... we're not going to be getting a lethal directly on this attack, but we should be looking pretty good for... Man, if we should have just played... We should have just played Heroic Refrain right from the start to give our bro down here a little taste of the quick attacks. But turns out a lethal's lethal. All right, GG. Well played, Necros. Well played, Poppy. Able to achieve victory. Continue on, see if we can't make our way to that top cut. We won't be undefeated on the way there, but we'll try to get there as best as we can. And so, that was week 3. Well battled, Necros. We're up to 2-1, and we'll see who's up next week. If you enjoy what we're doing here, there's 2 more weeks of the regular season, and then we'll be making it our way up to the top cut. And so you can follow along here. You can follow along on tarjeta.gg. If you want to play in the next season, the things to follow will be there. The discords along that way as well. And so, good set of games. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. Maybe had a good time watching. Learned a thing or two along the way. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.